No freaking way. The tribal chief is back, and he's not alone. Roman Reigns just returned to Monday Night Raw with Rikishi as his new Wiseman, and the wrestling world is in absolute chaos. What's up, Suplex Rumble Nation? This is the biggest family reunion in WWE history, and you need to hear everything. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Suplex Rumble, the premier destination for the most in-depth wrestling analysis, breaking news, and the most passionate community on YouTube. If this is your first time here, do yourself a massive favor and hit that subscribe button because you just found your wrestling family. And to all my Day 1 Suplex Rumble subscribers, you know we're about to break down one of the most significant returns and partnerships in WWE history. Roman Reigns is back, the Bloodline saga just took an incredible turn, and we're going to analyze every single angle of this game-changing development. Let's go! Alright, Suplex Rumble fam, before we get into the explosive return, and trust me, we're getting there, we need to talk about the journey that led us to this historic moment because the context makes it even more powerful. Roman Reigns has been on one of the greatest championship runs in WWE history. The Tribal Chief, the head of the table. For years, Roman has dominated the WWE landscape with an iron fist, backed by his family, backed by his Wiseman, and backed by an unshakable confidence that he is the greatest of all time. But recently, things have been complicated. The bloodline has faced internal struggles. Members have come and gone. Loyalty has been tested. Championships have changed hands. The empire that Roman built has faced challenges from both outside forces and from within the family itself. And then there's the Wiseman situation. We all know about Roman's previous Wiseman, the special counsel who helped guide him to unprecedented success. But circumstances changed, alliances shifted, and the tribal chief found himself needing to reassess his inner circle and his approach moving forward. Roman has been absent from WWE television for several weeks. The official word was that he was taking time to handle family business and to strategize about his next move. Social media went wild with speculation. Would he return alone? Would he bring new allies? Would the bloodline be reformed, restructured, or completely reimagined? Meanwhile, the landscape of WWE continued to evolve without him. New challengers emerged. Old rivals positioned themselves. Championships were defended and won by others. The question wasn't if Roman would return, we all knew the tribal chief would be back, but when and what he would bring with him. Leading up to last night's Raw, there were zero legitimate leaks about what was going to happen. WWE kept this under complete wraps, which is increasingly rare in today's age of social media and dirt sheets. That alone should have told us something big was brewing. The show itself was already stacked with incredible matches and storylines. The crowd was electric from the opening bell. But there was this underlying anticipation, this feeling that something was going to happen. Wrestling fans can always sense when a major moment is coming, even if we don't know exactly what form it's going to take. And then, about halfway through the show, after a particularly intense match, the lights in the arena shifted. The production changed. And everyone in that building and watching at home knew Roman Reigns was about to make his presence felt. The familiar entrance music hits, and the place erupts. Love him or hate him, Roman Reigns is one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling, and his presence immediately elevates everything to another level. But here's where it gets interesting. Roman doesn't immediately appear. The music is playing, the crowd is going crazy, but the tribal chief is making everyone wait. It's a power move, and it's classic Roman Reigns psychology. He controls the moment. He controls the narrative. He controls everything. When Roman finally steps out onto the entrance ramp, the visual is striking. He's got that confident swagger, the championship aura even without a belt around his waist, that presence that can't be taught or faked. The camera zooms in on his face, and you can see it, this man has been plotting, planning, and preparing for this exact moment. But Roman's not alone. Standing beside him is a massive figure that immediately gets the crowd buzzing even louder. At first, some fans aren't sure the lighting, the angle, the surprise of it all. But then the camera gets a clear shot, and the arena loses its mind. Rikishi, the WWE Hall of Famer. The legend, standing shoulder to shoulder with the tribal chief. For those who might not know the full significance, let me break it down. Rikishi is Roman's actual uncle. This isn't storyline family, this is real family. Rikishi is a legendary performer in his own right, a former Intercontinental Champion, a Tag Team Champion, a man who was a cornerstone of one of WWE's most successful eras. But more importantly, Rikishi represents something deeper. He represents the foundation of the Anoa'i family legacy in professional wrestling. He represents tradition, respect, and the old-school way of doing things. His presence beside Roman sends an immediate message about what this new chapter is going to represent. Roman and Rikishi make their way down the ramp together, moving with purpose and authority. The crowd is divided. Some fans are absolutely loving this development, others are concerned about what it means for their favorites on the roster. That's perfect wrestling heat. They enter the ring, and Roman calls for a microphone. The crowd is so loud that he has to wait a solid 30 seconds before he can even begin to speak. That's the power of a properly executed return with a shocking partnership. When Roman finally speaks, his message is crystal clear. He acknowledges his time away and makes it clear that he wasn't running, wasn't hiding, wasn't defeated. He was strategizing. He was building. He was preparing for the next phase of his dominance. Then Roman introduces Rikishi not just as family, not just as a legend, but as his new Wiseman. The crowd reaction to this is incredible, a mixture of shock, excitement, and immediate understanding of what this means for the WWE landscape. Roman explains his reasoning in a way that's absolutely brilliant from a character perspective. He says that his previous Wiseman was about strategy and manipulation, but his new Wiseman brings something different. He brings legacy, tradition, and the accumulated wisdom of one of the greatest wrestling families in history. Rikishi takes the microphone, and his speech is powerful. He talks about watching Roman grow up, watching him develop into a champion, and watching him build an empire. He says that when Roman approached him about taking on this role, he knew it was time to come out of retirement, not to compete, but to guide, to counsel, and to ensure that the tribal chief's legacy continues to grow. But here's where it gets even more intense. Rikishi makes it clear that this isn't just about Roman. This is about the entire Anoa'i family legacy. This is about ensuring that the bloodline continues to dominate WWE for generations to come. And anyone who stands in their way will learn why this family has produced more champions than any other family in wrestling history. The segment ends with Roman and Rikishi standing tall in the ring, the crowd going absolutely crazy, and the clear message sent: the tribal chief is back, he's got family by his side, and the WWE landscape is about to be dominated like never before. Okay, Suplex Rumble Nation, let's break down why this partnership is absolutely genius from every possible angle, because the layers here are incredible. First, let's talk about the authenticity factor. In professional wrestling, we often see storyline families that work great but lack the genuine connection. Roman and Rikishi don't have that problem. They're real family, and that authenticity translates through the screen. When they talk about legacy and tradition, it's not just characters speaking, it's real people with real family history. From a character development perspective, this gives Roman a completely new dimension. His previous Wiseman was all about manipulation, mind games, and strategy. Rikishi brings something different. He brings honor within the family structure, he brings old-school wrestling wisdom, and he brings a connection to the legendary past of the Anoa'i dynasty. This also separates Roman from any comparisons to his previous run. He's not trying to recreate what worked before. He's evolving, adapting, and building something new while still maintaining the core elements that made him the tribal chief in the first place. Let's talk about Rikishi specifically. This man was a star during one of WWE's hottest periods. He was over with the crowd, he had charisma for days, and he was a legitimate main event player. Having him as a mouthpiece and advisor gives Roman instant credibility with older fans who remember Rikishi's legendary run, while also introducing newer fans to a WWE Hall of Famer. From a promo perspective, this is dynamite. You now have Roman, who's already one of the best talkers in wrestling today, backed up by Rikishi, who can cut promos that blend old-school intensity with modern sensibilities. The verbal confrontations with other superstars are going to be must-see television. Think about the storyline possibilities this opens up. Other members of the Anoa'i family who are currently in WWE might be drawn into this narrative. Tag team partners from Rikishi's era might make appearances. The connections and crossover opportunities are endless. This also creates fascinating potential conflicts. Not everyone in the wrestling world is going to be happy about this partnership. Rivals of Roman might target Rikishi to get under the tribal chief's skin. Veterans who competed against Rikishi back in the day might have opinions about him coming back in this role. The drama writes itself. From a marketing perspective, WWE just created a merchandise goldmine. New t-shirts featuring the Reigns-Rikishi partnership. Legacy-themed gear connecting past and present. The commercial opportunities are massive, and you know WWE is already working on rolling out new products. Let's also talk about what this means for the bloodline as a whole. Is Rikishi going to help recruit new members? Is he going to help heal the fractures that have developed within the family? Or is this about building something completely new that supersedes the previous iterations of the bloodline? The mentorship dynamic is fascinating too. Roman is at the peak of his powers, but even the greatest champions can benefit from the wisdom of someone who's been there before. Rikishi competed in multiple eras, adapted to different styles, and remained relevant through significant changes in the wrestling business. That knowledge is invaluable. And here's something that can't be overlooked: the intimidation factor. You're now approaching Roman Reigns knowing that he's backed by a WWE Hall of Famer who's also family. That psychological advantage is huge in wrestling storylines. Opponents have to consider that they're not just facing Roman, they're facing the accumulated power of the Anoa'i dynasty. Alright, Suplex Rumble fam, let's put on our fantasy booking hats and talk about where this incredible development is going to lead, because the possibilities are endless. First prediction: Roman is going straight after championship gold. The tribal chief has been away, but he hasn't forgotten what drives him, being the absolute best and holding the most prestigious titles in WWE. With Rikishi by his side providing counsel and strategy, Roman's path back to championship glory is going to be systematic and brutal. I'm predicting we're going to see a complete restructuring of the bloodline. Some previous members might be well.